Good day, brothers and sisters. This is Anthony Moore for Your Money More, checking in from the Freedmen descendants of Chicago, formerly known as ADOS Chicago. And today we are going to talk about how we, of course, black people who descended from U.S. chattel slaves, black people who have descended from freedmen, the freed slaves after the Civil War, have to have a zero tolerance policy toward selling out, especially as it applies to these politicians, but it really applies to the broader American public. We as the people have to have a zero tolerance policy toward selling out, specifically when it comes to these politicians. Now, I believe in having a zero tolerance policy towards selling out across the board. I don't care if it's the damn garbage man. But of course, when it comes to people in positions of influence, positions of power, positions where they are supposed to be serving the people, especially if it's a position where they are supposed to, such as a politician, where they are supposed to be leading the people, but instead they usually are deceiving the people. So certainly, it definitely applies to these celebrities and these entertainers who lead their fans astray. Who say when a power structure say when it's a white supremacist power structure say, hey, go get them to vote. They'll say go vote. We don't even know if they vote. We don't even know if they know a damn thing about politics. But they'll say vote or die, vote or die, vote or die. What? Why not say fight for your rights, fight to be made whole or die? But vote or die when you voting for choices that ain't worth voting for. And I'm not saying don't vote, but I'm just saying, look, we got to understand that's selling out. That's misleading. That's deceiving. All on behalf of you doing these so-called celebrities and entertainers in particular, doing what they are told. Misleading the very people who are their fans. But anyway, we most definitely have to have a zero tolerance policy toward selling out toward these politicians, because these politicians sell out for a living, and that is the breakdown of our democracy. Princeton University, the Ivy League school, not that long ago did a study, and it determined that in a practical sense, the United States of America is an oligarchy versus a democracy. And one of the stats that they pointed to is that when the general public wants policy, but the elites who buy these politicians off want something that goes against what the public wants, the public gets what it wants like 0.0000 something percentage of the time. Virtually never. And so this really, like I said, this transcends race, it transcends political party. These politicians on both sides, on all levels, certainly the federal level, but the state level, city level, local levels too, they sell out. And we, the people, don't have a functional democracy because of them not just selling out, but being allowed to sell out. Selling out being normalized, which is why the American industrial base has been decimated, why the American middle class has been decimated, where more and more wealth is being consolidated in the hands of fewer people. And our democracy, the very function of this United States of America, is teetering on the edge. And this is the time to fight for it, and to fight to make it better, and to fight for shared prosperity, and to fight for a prosperous working class. And I'm not just talking about black folks, even though I'm most definitely talking about black people who are descended from U.S. chattel slavery, which is why I'm advocating, I still want to reference the executive order that we in Illinois are pushing our governor here to sign. Multi-billionaire Democrat J.B. Pritzker, who inherited all his money, who we call JB. I wouldn't be governor without the black vote Pritzker, because even though he bought his way into that office, spent at least $154 million reportedly to be elected in 2018, and he is projected to spend more to be reelected. He still wouldn't be governor without the black vote. So click the links below for more information about that, as well as some of the other videos where I go more in depth about that. But I want to get back to talking about this zero tolerance policy toward selling out, because we already know when it comes to politics, it's phonier than a dollar store hair weed. We understand that. We got that. But we, like I said, we allow these people to sell out. And again, this needs to transcend race. This needs to transcend political party. Look, the minute that these politicians, because regardless of what side, whether you Democrat or Republican, you should be serving your constituents, your everyday working class, bread and butter constituents, which they don't do on both sides, regardless of race. And so the minute these politicians sell out, we need to be striving to kick them out of office faster than you would kick out an Avon sales lady who you invited into your home and found out that she didn't sell Avon. In other words, we need to be striving to kick them out quick, fast, and in a hurry. Because I know I may be dating myself, but when I was coming up, we had the Avon sales lady. Never seen no Avon salesmen, but you had the Avon sales ladies, and they used to go door to door selling Avon products, lotions, perfumes, soap, stuff like that. So could you imagine, Avon sales lady comes to your door, say, "Hey, I got some lotions, soaps, perfumes. It's the Avon sales lady. I'd like to show you what I got." You say, "Okay, yeah, I might be able to use some of that. So why don't you come on in and show me what you got?" And then she come in your house. And you say, "Well, I ain't got no Avon." Well, what the hell are you doing in my house? I mean, you were invited into my house for a specific purpose, and you are not fulfilling the purpose for which you were specifically invited into my house. That's what these politicians do, because they are invited with our votes into these political houses to serve the people, to fight for the people's interests. Instead, they sell out the people. They fight for the rich and powerful interests, the elite's interests, to the detriment of the people that vote them into these offices. They are invited into these houses for the purpose of serving the people. Instead, they do the opposite of that, so they have no reason to be in those houses, those political houses. Okay, because could you imagine you call a plumber and invite the plumber over your house to fix your toilet, and the plumber get over there, and then he start making phone calls to other people. And you be like, "Hey, and start setting up future jobs." And you be like, "Hey, man, what's happening? You supposed to be getting my toilet?" "Oh man, I don't even feel like doing that today. I'm just gonna make some calls for future jobs." "What? Really, man? You better go. What the hell you come over here for? You better what?" I mean, that's what these politicians are doing. I mean, if anytime a person is invited into a house for a particular purpose and they are not fulfilling the purpose for which they were invited into that house, they don't have no business being in that house. Whether it's my house, your mama's house, your daddy's house, your cousin's house, your auntie's house, the bird house, the dog house, the outhouse, the field house, the big house, the courthouse, the state house, the White House, an outhouse, any kind of house. Anytime somebody's invited to a house for a particular purpose and they're not fulfilling the purpose for which they were invited into the house, they don't have no business being in that house. And speaking of different houses, I mentioned an outhouse because we got to make these political houses like an outhouse. And some people might say, "Well, man, they already are like an outhouse because these politicians are full of the same thing that outhouses are full of." I totally agree with that. But this is what I mean. When it comes to an outhouse, especially if it's on one of them big, them family reunion picnic type days, unless you got some kind of weird fetish for dirt and filth and bad smells, which is something that you need to keep to yourself. Again, because hey, you ain't. I know in this internet social media age, we've been programmed to tell all our business, but some things it's okay to keep to yourself. Some weird, wild, crazy stuff, but you ain't hurt nobody, but it's just you doing you. Hey, do you, but you ain't got to tell everybody. Just a word of advice. But like I said, unless you got some kind of weird fetish, you ain't trying to be in the outhouse, especially on one of them rough days, them barbecue and picnic days. You are not trying to be in an outhouse unless you are there for the particular purpose for which it was designed, because otherwise it's too unbearable of a place to be. But hell, if you got to take care of that business, regardless of what's going on, the filth and dirt and spill, you glad to be in that outhouse if you got to really take care of that business and it's that time and that moment. That's how we got to make these political houses. Just like an outhouse, you ain't trying to be in an outhouse unless you're there for the particular purpose because it's too uncomfortable of a place to be. That's how we got to make these political houses where these politicians are not. If these politicians aren't there for the purpose for which they are supposed to be there, which is to serve the people, if they are not there for the purpose for which these political houses was designed, then it's too uncomfortable of a place to be. That's how we got to make it. Okay? In other words, speaking of outhouses, we got to be the janitors of this thing. We got to clean up this dirt and this filth because these politicians are figuratively way more dirty than these janitors who might clean up very dirty messes could ever literally be. In other words, regardless of how messy a janitor might get or how much filth and dirt a janitor might clean up, shout out to janitors, by the way, Hey, they get nowhere near as dirty as these politicians get in doing the things that they do. So like I said, we have to have a zero tolerance policy toward setting out, because these politicians are full of the same thing that these outhouses tend to be full of on busy days. And the only time they let it out is when they talk, and that's unacceptable. So Anthony Moore, For Your Money More, Freeman, Descendants of Chicago, 1619 Rapid Relief Executive Order, the Violence, Health Crisis and Disease Bill that we helped get passed, that we helped craft. They trying to pimp that out too. That goes hand in hand with the 1619 Rapid Relief Executive Order, treating violence as the health crisis and disease that it is. Shout out to United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. Like, subscribe to the notification bell. Check out the links below in the description box. Comment, like I said, like, subscribe. Let's go.